Welcome to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke, and today's guest is Claire Falcon. She is a psychic medium, teacher of intuition, and dream interpretation expert. Her focus is on how consciousness communicates through dreams, teaching that dreams are the soul's direct language. In this episode, we'll discuss why 2026 is activating dream experiences for everyone, an ancient dream incubation technique, and how dreams reveal past lives and soul wisdom. Claire, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Johnny. It's great to be here.
Dream interpretation. Why is it that there are not many dream interpretation experts that base their work on experience as opposed to past life readers, Akashic record readers, mediums, and things like that?
I think it's because primarily when we think of dream interpretation, Jung and Freud really pioneered it as a means of psychoanalysis, right? And so when we think of it in that realm, we can have deep understandings about archetypes, about collective understandings of who we are, individual understandings of who we are, but it has actually a deep spiritual connotation to it. And it's the reason about where you are as a soul being in the dream state, how you can access different dimensions and realms of consciousness. And so when you begin to really dig a bit deeper about what dream interpretation is, you find that it is the soul's natural state of being, right? As it were, as the soul is able to leave temporarily the physical body and traverse limitlessly in its original form as a soul. And so I think that probably what you will find more and more are people understanding that it's not just dream interpretation where I can crack open a book and get a glossary and throw a couple of dream symbols around, which, by the way, is incredibly helpful. But when you really start to understand the nature of what it means to dream, what are you doing when you dream, and how you are traversing consciousness, that's when you start to really get to the mystical, celestial soul journey, the story of the soul that is behind it. It's a different frame that is quietly there waiting for us to rediscover because truly it's an ancient practice. And it's far easier when you begin to understand it that is a direct experience and not only something that you use to look up in a glossary to understand.
To really understand the dreams and where we go and into different dimensions or different parts of the spirit world, perhaps, how did you become to understand that from an experiential point of view?
Mine's a little bit different only in that I am a practicing psychic medium. With any practicing psychic medium, you are going to have a really dance of consciousness that you do all of the time. All psychic mediums have their own kind of forte, have their own type of style. And before I was even practicing psychic mediumship, given readings, life readings, psychic readings, you name it, as a child, I had a unique fascination with dreams. I've always been a huge dreamer. I've always been fascinated by what you can glean from them for your own spiritual understanding, for your own lives. I think someone put a copy of Dreams by Freud, I think it was when I was 16, put it in my hand and I devoured it and wrote like a research paper on it. So my soul, as it were, has always had a natural fascination with dreams. And I really got into that as I progressed when I actually started practicing psychic mediumship, taking clients, giving readings and teaching about intuition. I found it to be a unique way for people to access their soul wisdom because you do it in a state where the personality mind is firmly laid to the side when you enter the dream world. And maybe we can go there to really understand it, because when you get the mechanism of what it is and what you do each night, you start to really understand that the nature and time and space that you are entering is completely different from this 3D physical matter that you're here with. As a psychic medium, that comes natural to you in a wakeful state. We're traversing different states of consciousness as a psychic medium when we're reading, but each and every soul, regardless of whether or not you are aware of your intuition, enters a period of sleep each night, having the ability to read their own Akashic record, understand different past incarnations, things of this nature. So that's really, for me, how it is in an experiential one. And what's something that people really can identify with a lot of the time is, I thought visitation dreams, those were departed loved ones who are now in spirit coming to talk with you, right? Real visitation dreams, you wake up and you just know that you were in a different time and space and you were talking to your loved ones. It feels real because it is. You are meeting them on a different plane. And so those are the experiments that I had personally growing up, where from a very young age, I thought that was normal. And it is normal, but I thought that everybody had dreams like that all of the time because
I thought the same thing.
It's so real and it's so natural that you think that everyone has that experience a lot of the time. And some don't, but it's possible for each and every soul.
With the visitation dreams, can you give us an example of one where it's the real thing, and another where it could just be nonlinear, completely chaotic, an experience that doesn't make any sense.
To understand that, it's probably really important to talk a little bit about what happens when we transition into the sleep state. And that is when each and every night when you go to sleep, the personality of Claire or Johnny, the person that pays the bills, goes to work, goes shopping, what have you, is by a natural state that you and I come to do each night, firmly put to the side. You shift your awareness and consciousness from a personality, central nervous system, normal conscious awareness. You go deeper and you go into the subconscious and the soul mind awareness. It has very little to do with the personality that's out there living on earth. And you come into such a deeper state of consciousness and awareness that truly is the soul state of who you are, that is perpendicular to Claire that goes out and goes to work and walks around like a normal human being. So because of that very fundamental understanding of the shift of consciousness in a soul mind state, in a subconscious state, you have the ability to access those loved ones in spirit who are also operating in a different state of awareness and consciousness, where they can meet you in that state, and they can meet you far easier in that state of awareness, because when you are awake and living out your personality life, you may second guess, was that really them? Was that a sign? Am I just making it up? But you're asleep. That side of you is like nowhere to be found. You are a limitless soul being of your true celestial origins when you sleep. And by doing so, your vibration and consciousness is at a higher frequency, if you will. And your loved ones in spirit, they're already existing on a higher frequency, have a easier ability to meet you there in the dream state. They can access your consciousness and awareness and mold with it and mesh with it far easier, like almost perpendicular to what they would have to try to do when you're walking out and about. So because of that fundamental shift of consciousness, when you dream about someone who has departed and who's coming in asleep, the first thing that people say when they wake up after a visitation dream was, oh my God, that was so real. And I saw them in front of me and I was conversing with them just like when they were alive. Some of my students and clients will be like, Claire, like I asked them, why are you here? You're dead. And they looked at me and said, hey, this is the true me. Or they'll say something like, that was me in human form and this is my soul state now. They will give some indication so you'll understand you are in a different state of awareness. You are talking to me on a plane of existence. And that's the ability of a visitation dream to unfold. And they have the hallmarks and qualities of being completely feeling very real, because they are. They have it where you sit and have conversations with them. It's not just symbolic where they saw you over in the corner of the room, or you felt them around you, or you had a memory where you saw, like in your dream, something unfold. This is like a conversation like you and I are having. That's a deep visitation dream. And often, just like with spirit communication, if you were ever to talk to a medium, they're coming for a purpose. It's often times where they come and be like, I just wanted to say hello, or, I wanted to let you know that I know what mom is going through and I'm walking with her. Or they'll give you advice about your own life, challenges that you're going through. See it in this manner, because they, just like in life, they were your friend or your brother or your sister, and your human incarnation is important to them. And so that is like one of the clear hallmarks of a visitation dream. It's not a visitation when you happen to have a feeling about them or you have a memory of them and they appear like in the corner of your eye. That too can be where you're having a soul connection. It's not black and white, but that is more about maybe a soul memory, or your state of awareness is lightly touching theirs. A visitation is, you know it when you wake up. You know the difference, big time.
This is one of my favorite dreams that happened not too long ago. One of my brothers passed in 2022. One of the last things I said to him was, we'll be drinking beer again. And he says, you know you will, because whenever I used to visit, we'd go down to the corner store, we'd buy some ale, and we'd sit and talk about all the political stuff we didn't agree about. And I had this one dream where we're at a party. I've never been to this house, but it looked very familiar for some reason. And he looks up at me, looking in the fridge, looks at me and says, Johnny, we're out of beer. I says, you're right. I need to go get some more. What are the odds that's just my imagination?
Exactly. That's not. And this is one of the telltale signs that they will do. They will leave a little hint so that you know it's them. Something they said, their favorite song, some sort of awareness that it was them. I've had loved ones of my own experience where they'll come and they'll sing like a favorite Christmas song, right? And they've been in the world of spirit like 25 years. And I'll wake up singing it, right? In that liminal space, right? Coming out of sleep, out of that deep soul consciousness into the personality consciousness. And that's when you oftentimes remember the most. Those are real good indicators of it has been a visitation. They have been with you, and little hints that they'll leave for you. So yeah, that's a classic example of a visitation dream, for sure.
That's pretty much what I thought. And I've also had other dreams of people that have passed where they say nothing. And I've been told by several mediums, when they first pass, they don't really know how to communicate as well. And you see them, but they're not saying anything. Later on down the track, it's going to be a little bit easier for them to communicate. Does that make sense?
I would say yes, and I would expand that just briefly. And that is, remember, they're a soul being who has had like thousands, if not millions of incarnations behind them. So their ability to communicate could be vaster than maybe you would have thought when they were alive. It's probably more or less where you've seen them is that your state of consciousness and awareness is not expanded, where you're able to really lock in and they're able to lock in with you and to be able to communicate. That said, those that communicate with us, even in psychic mediumship readings or in the state of sleep and awareness, they too want to be careful and not overwhelm. Because I've had individuals where they've had a visitation dream and been so shocked to see somebody that it wakes them up and they're so startled. So they're being careful too. You are correct. I would expand it only briefly to say that you have to understand that a soul has been incarnating for eons and their ability to communicate could be vastly different than when they were in human form.
But if you're on a slightly different frequency, it's like a frequency differential or a gap of some sort. And another thing, being a medium, what is the connection between the sleep state, the dream state, and the spirit world? Is there an overlap or is it all the same space?
It's not really all the same space, but it is like a very similar vibration and frequency. The same ability that I have to be able to shift my awareness and go into a state where I can hear, feel, sense, and understand who wants to come through for someone and give messages is my same ability to do it when I sleep. It's just with sleep that it's done for me. I don't really have to try. I'm sleeping and I'm going into a different state of awareness. A good way to see it, because of the nature of what souls are, is that this is your true unlimited form. And so I can use that to be a psychic medium. I could use it to be a great lucid dreamer. I could be someone who has a whole series of questions that I ask about the world and myself and use that information in my waking life. It is the soul's ability to cross dimensions, areas of time and space, and to be able to sense what is there and read the energy that is there.
Again, frequencies, dimensions, and things that many of us, myself included, have a hard time really trying to understand it with our human minds. Speaking of dimensions, you also work with past lives. Has your work in dream interpretation combined with the mediumship abilities, has that given you an extra layer of understanding the spirit world, past lives? Yeah,
for sure. For sure. And especially being able to teach students and clients how to do it. When you start to really understand your soul's lives and the strengths and abilities that you're carrying from incarnation to incarnation, the dream study is one where you can take it away from it being an intellectual pursuit. Let me wrap my head around this, to having a personal mystical experience by having it in the dream world. Because dreams for many people are like little movies. When you are curious about your past lives, you can look at any life and its challenges and strengths, you name it. And when you can do dream incubation, which is the science of writing down a question and setting an intention before you sleep, you're basically steering consciousness as a limitless soul being during your sleep. And so you can go wherever you want. So when you have the ability to have dream interpretation, understanding past lives, and then mold it into psychic mediumship, you have the ability to read different consciousness and energy in a form that you're getting the whole picture. You're getting like a 360 picture. You have a personal experience in a dream. Like, it's very different when I can tell you as a psychic medium and give you a past life reading, which I do, and which are deeply fascinating. But if I can teach you how to have your own personal experience in a dream of a past life, that's going to hit so many different marks than I could ever do by just telling it to you from a psychic reading.
It seems like it's a way to like connect the dots with the whole 360 view from birth, death, in between space, coming back down, around, and so on. A friend of mine brought this up to me recently. I forget who wrote the book, but it had something to do with when we die to not go towards the light and go where it's darkness or whatever. But the idea is when you go to the light, souls are harvested and it's almost like a prison. To me, it sounds like superstition. Now, with your experience, can you comfortably say that is indeed superstition? Because I would probably know about it.
I can only say from personal experience in the readings that I give. If someone is experiencing that, it has a lot to do with their own personal worldview. What I can say from reading souls who come to me asking for my assistance and I connect them with their loved ones, or my work with individuals of spirit guides, is that there is a time and space space that we enter into after we have a physical death, where we return home and we get to work. And we return to an understanding of soul groups that have developed over eons, of very intentionally looking at what went well in that past life, what didn't go so well, what am I going to try next time, why did I struggle with that, why couldn't I get my head around this past life issue, karma, if you will, test, if you will. One of the reasons why we come even to the schoolhouse of Earth. My understanding is that it evolves. Like, it's not a spiritual place where we go home only. It's a place where it's the learning between lives. And it's like how we develop further. That has been my experience.
Okay. From a teaching experience and doing readings, I've never heard of one reading or a past life regression that resembled anything close to that. So what you said about social conditioning and worldview probably has a lot to do with it, because I've heard of dark NDEs. That does happen, but it always seemed to be resolved with the person, especially if they were flatlining and they were clinically dead for a while. Can you explain how dreams are myths of our soul lives?
And this is what I talked about in the very beginning. Because of the nature of why we even come, like, we make a very purposeful decision to come into a human incarnation as a soul being. We could, exist in the realms and in the dimensions of many different planets, and we come very intentionally to Earth. And really, our dreams are the entire story of where we have been and where we have traveled and what we have learned. And so they are the story of our soul. And they get us to understand what challenges we are overcoming, what our strengths are, where we have resided in different time and space, and how we are bringing those gifts and those understandings to this life. Just like myths, like Roman or Greek myths, tell the story of our collective understanding, our collective awakenings, our individual awakenings of who we are. Dreams really are beautiful symbolic tapestries of who you have been and even where you are going. These are personal experiences that you're having every night. It's not a psychic medium telling you this is what I see for you, which is incredibly helpful. These are deeply personal mysteries that you experience.
Right now, 2026, you believe that our dream experiences are becoming more vivid. What's the reason for that? Why is this happening now?
2026 has a bombastic astrological energy to it, and there are many different outer planets that are coming into different signs. The Chinese astrology, there is numerology, and it's all, to summarize it, we're having massive shifts of energy, just the energy work of reading as a psychic medium would do. Astrologers and people that use astrology as a tool can read the energy of astrology in the constellations and see its impact that it's going to have on us collectively and personally. And so when you look at the astrology of 2026, outer planets that have a very slow orbit, a very long orbit, are shifting signs. And they're doing it in certain degrees where you can see, okay, this is massive initiator energy. This is clearly a pioneering spirit when it comes to spiritual understandings. And this is clearly a time and place where humans will be really invited to deepen their spiritual mastery. And without going into technicalities of it, which is, I'm sure, a podcast for another day, right?
Yeah, it could be a part two easily, yeah.
The summation of the energy of 2026 is human beings have a real opportunity to look at things like personal sovereignty when it comes to my energy versus external energy, comes to understanding how your intuitive gifts really can make a huge leap in their development. And it's a year really of spiritual mastery is on the cards.
You or your clients have had visits from soulmates from these other planets. Tell us about that and why that's significant with the timing.
As a soul being, you have incarnated not just on Earth. There have been outer planets, outer dimensions that you would have spent time in, that you would have had specific, again, just like Earth, very purposeful meaning of going there. And you would have collected those lessons and challenges as ability. And that, just like your past lives, would follow you into this life. And so when you are in different states of consciousness, like dreams or like having a past life reading, someone guiding you and you discovering your own, you can understand that your soul not only has been to those places and lived there and had a life, but that each night when you sleep, because of the nature of sleep, because you are temporarily leaving the physical body, that you can continue to visit there and come home and have the ability to retrieve those messages as far as your human mind can understand it for understanding at this time. So to set it another way, I have clients and students who have the ability to to, Claire, I'm not sure where I was. I'm not sure what transpired. The people looked different. It felt different, Claire. I traveled really far, but I was back in an instant. They have all of these hallmarks to them that are from a psychic medium who does dream interpretation can learn to recognize and help you recognize that you are going back to those places because your soul knows it very well. And your soul has vivid, beautiful memories of those times. So why couldn't you remember them through a state such as sleep? So this is a little bit of what that is about. Of course, through psychic mediumship, when I give psychic readings, there are real key indicators for me that this person has lived a life not on Earth. Real hallmarks there too. And so when I can see that, I tend to say, okay, let's have a dream incubation series of questions and let's find out who you have been in different dimensions.
Okay, so the dream incubation technique, this is not new. This goes back thousands of years.
That's right.
This is something that I would imagine it's a little bit more than just a typical past life reading, isn't it?
That's right. Dream incubation, you have the ability to read at the energy of time and space, past, present, and future anytime you want. It's just a trained skill. And so again, in a limitless soul mind state, when you are asleep, you can have the ability to draw up these memories and experiences. If dream waves are waves of consciousness, dream incubation is a steering wheel, right? I'm going to set a question that is future oriented. I'm not sure if you've ever experienced future oriented dreams or prophetic dreams that have come true, right? You can do stuff like that. Let's say that you have a reoccurring dream or a reoccurring emotional challenge here on Earth. Earth is the planet of emotional challenges, and you'd like to know why. You would really like to understand it from a spiritual standpoint. An ancient practice that was used in Egypt amongst many other cultures is writing the intention down, writing the question down, literally putting it under your pillow before you sleep. Again, allowing the physical body, giving it every sort of help and aid that it can to shift its awareness and go to sleep. And more often than not, by the first or second dream, you get a direct answer from the dream about whatever it was. And remember, because of the nature of what this is, your soul wants you to have a very happy, profound, mystical life. So if you're asking questions and if you are inquiring about stuff that will help you, that you will actually use, then you're going to start to clock any sort of question that you could possibly think of.
So you could actually ask something like, what star system or star race was I most recently?
Right.
And you'll be able to find out.
And you'll be able to find out. And it takes practice. It takes care. It takes the right intention. You have to ask yourself, how are you going to use it? These are deeply fascinating experiences. So people could get high on this stuff, right? And just want to stay and, what can we experience again? So you need to integrate it. And then you have to become very versatile in the language of symbolism. Dreams are the language of symbolism. You can discover much about your soul of past, present, and future through the ancient technique of dream incubation. It's very easy. It's for free. And every soul can do it because this is the sleep conscious awareness is your natural state of being.
All good points about the dream state. And I think for many, it's one of the most misunderstood things in the world of the mystical.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
ET contact, either you or your clients. What can you tell us about that?
As the concept of extraterrestrials and disclosure looms more and more for humanity, I think that as we evolve and we make our attempts and our trials at consciousness as human beings, is that we start to understand that we no longer, because of our own abilities, need to rely on any external permission or invitation or event to allow us to communicate with other beings, star beings that are also part of the universal family. Like humanity too has its place in the universe. And as we become more and more aware of that, one of the most famous predictions, or not really a prediction, but statements from Edgar Cayce, a very famous psychic medium, was said that human beings will become involved and get to meet the universe and those beings of the universe. And I think that it's an understanding for us to really come together and say, okay, we don't need an external body to allow us to do this. We can shift our own awareness and consciousness, and in groups or as individuals have our own personal experience, just like in the dream, with ET communication. It is there, it exists, it is for free. And I think that there is an abundance of evidence to suggest that this is already a reality. And it's just simply, how do we want to communicate with it?
Have you had any experiences yourself?
I have had an experience where I know that they are there. I know that I have the ability to communicate with them. That was one of the first lessons that I received really doing this work from my guides. When you get past the kind of like initiation of understanding your own guides, understanding those of the spirit world, there is also, because of my own fascination, there is also the concept of, could you communicate them with other star beings? And so I know how to do it. I have the ability. I know that it is there. And I think as all of us become more and more curious about it, we're going to start to discover that the ability to do it is simply something that just has to be switched on, to be remembered. And it's not really something that we have to go to extreme cases to do. I think it's literally already there. And I think that's something that the ETs would really want for us, is to be able to understand that it's already there and that we don't need any external force to be able to do it for us.
With your own past lives, do any of them go way, way back to thousands and thousands of years ago?
Yeah.
The reason I ask that is because we've had some people on the podcast before that have memories that go way back to Atlantis or even before then. Apparently, ETs walked among us. Do you have any visions or memories from that period that would substantiate the theory of moving back to that place eventually, our consciousness, where these things were normal? People are psychic, people are telepathic, and eventually we'll be able to cohabitate with several extraterrestrials, because after all, didn't we come from the star beings anyway?
That's right. Aren't we all from the same source? Are we not all one? Yes and yes. I've had experiences where I have seen such technological advancement, again, in the dream world, walking along with someone and being in a different body, being in a different time and space. A lot of people that are big dreamers, they're like, some of those dreams are just sci-fi, Claire, sci-fi level. And I'm like, yeah, that's when I know they're touching on some technology that they have a soul memory of. And so I've been in dreams where I don't even have human words for the type of technology that I saw. And vast laboratories, the ability simply in a dream, through conscious awareness to tell a ship where to go, I've experienced in a dream, like telepathically been able to tell a vehicle or ship, right? I'm using my human terms, about what to do and where to go. I've had Atlantean-esque type dreams where when I've woken up, I've been like, okay, that really feels like Atlantis, where I've seen the earth open up and I've seen like spaceships that look like something from Star Wars move in such a manner that they go down into the ground and then slip into a parking passageway in the earth where there are labs underneath the earth. So I've had instances where not only have I seen that, and that's been like normal for me in the dream as if it always happened, but I've had instances where individuals in the dream will to explain to me what I'm seeing, right? And those often come with the ones where I've had future-oriented dreams where I will have a dream, again, being guided, and I'll be able to see into the future and see technology that, again, I couldn't really explain. But whoever's with me starts to explain it by either showing me, like, I've had instances where they'll hand me a newspaper and they'll show me the year 2038, or they'll show me a different time and space. And I've seen future events that are happening now, but in a different time and space. It starts to bend your mind like a pretzel, right? As Dolores Cannon famously said. So yeah, I've had them. My clients and students have had them. It is the way of the soul speaking about technological advancements that we are remembering, for sure. There's a extremely powerful opportunity with the energy of 2026, as we just talked about, Johnny. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for many of these planets that are now coming into position. Tomorrow will mark one where we have the shifting of an outer planet, Aries coming into Neptune. None of us would have experienced that in our lifetime. The last time that it happened would have been in 1861. That's just one example of this year's energy. There is so much available to you right now to raise your consciousness and awareness and to develop your intuition to experience these things. Seek out teachings that really resonate with you and have the ability to allow you to remember, as it were.
I think the next couple of years are going to be very, very interesting, to say the least. Cool stuff. Claire, thanks for joining us today. In the meantime, how can our listeners find you online?
Visit my website. I'll put the link in the show notes. And they have an awesome kit that I put together for 2026 about the energy, about how to interpret these dreams, and how to really use it for your intuition. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that for you. That's the best way to keep in touch with me.
You've been listening to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing. In the meantime, you can find more info on closertovenus.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.